The little girl reached for my hand in the middle of the crowded county fair, squeezed my fingers, and looked up at me with eyes far too serious for a child her age. Then she whispered the words that made my entire world stop, "You're not my dad." I looked toward her mother, and the color drained from her face so quickly that for a second I thought she might faint. I had met her only 20 minutes earlier. I didn't know her daughter. I didn't know why the child had chosen me. And I certainly didn't know that those 4 words were about to uncover a truth that would change 3 lives forever. If you believe that kindness can arrive at the strangest moment, that families can be built by love, and that everyone deserves forgiveness and a second chance, take a moment to like this story, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that remind us what truly matters. My name is Nathan Brooks, and at 36, I had become comfortable with a quiet life in Knoxville, Tennessee. I worked as an elementary school counselor, lived in a small house with a porch full of plants my grandmother had left behind, and had learned not to expect too much from life after a painful divorce. I wasn't bitter, just careful. I believed in helping people, but I had stopped believing that every good thing was meant to stay. That Saturday, I went to the county fair alone, mostly because my neighbor, Ruth, had insisted I needed to get out of the house. I was standing near the lemonade stand when I noticed a young mother struggling with a stroller, a diaper bag, and a 6-year-old girl who kept wandering toward the colorful booths. The mother looked exhausted, so I offered to carry the bag while she adjusted the stroller. She thanked me with a tired smile and introduced herself as Hannah Carter. Her daughter was named Grace. Grace was quiet at first, but within minutes she was showing me a tiny stuffed bear she had won at a ring toss game. Hannah laughed when she saw how quickly her daughter had warmed up to a stranger. We walked together toward the Ferris wheel, talking about ordinary things, when Grace suddenly stopped. She stared at me as though she had recognized something hidden beneath my face. Then she grabbed my hand and said those unforgettable words. Hannah immediately knelt beside her daughter and tried to reassure her, but Grace only looked at me and said that her mother had told her not to call anyone else Dad. That was when Hannah finally admitted that Grace's father had died before her daughter was born. She had never known him, except through a few photographs and stories. I expected the moment to end there, but Grace wouldn't let go of my hand. She kept looking at me with confusion, and Hannah finally explained that Grace had recently started asking why other children had fathers who came to school events while she didn't. Hannah had been trying to protect her from the pain of an answer she didn't know how to give. She had never remarried, never introduced another man into Grace's life, and had convinced herself that keeping everything about the past quiet was the safest choice. I gently told Grace that not being someone's father didn't mean I couldn't care about her. Something about that seemed to settle her. We spent another hour at the fair, and before leaving, Hannah apologized for the awkward encounter. She told me she was embarrassed that her daughter had placed me in such an emotional moment. I told her there was nothing to apologize for. Children sometimes ask questions adults are too afraid to say aloud. A week later, Hannah unexpectedly contacted me. Grace's school was hosting a father-daughter breakfast, and Grace had asked if I could attend as her special grown-up. Hannah was hesitant, worried that I might feel uncomfortable. I agreed, not because I wanted to replace anyone, but because I understood what it meant for a child to wonder whether she mattered to someone. At the breakfast, Grace proudly introduced me to her teacher as the man who had held her hand at the fair. I saw Hannah standing across the room, wiping tears from her eyes. What began as one strange afternoon slowly became a friendship. I helped Grace with her science projects, attended her school play, and sometimes joined Hannah and Grace for Sunday dinners. I never pretended to be Grace's father. Instead, I became something perhaps just as important, someone who showed up. Months passed, and then Hannah received an unexpected envelope containing old photographs and letters from Grace's father, something his sister had kept for years. One letter was written shortly before his death. It said that if he ever had a daughter, he hoped she would grow up surrounded by people who reminded her that she was loved. Hannah cried when she read it, because she realized she had spent years trying so hard to protect Grace from losing her father that she had accidentally made his absence feel like a secret. That evening, Hannah showed me the letter. I told her that Grace didn't need someone to erase her father's memory. She needed people willing to help carry it with her. Hannah looked at me and said she finally understood why Grace had grabbed my hand that day. It wasn't because she thought I was her father. It was because, somehow, she had sensed that I was the kind of person who wouldn't walk away. A year after we met, Grace stood on a small church stage during a family appreciation ceremony. Her real father's photograph sat beside her mother in the front row. I sat several seats away, unsure why Grace had asked me to come. When her name was called, she walked to the microphone and thanked her mother, her teacher, and Nathan, who taught me that family isn't always about having the same last name. Hannah covered her face and cried. I couldn't speak. Afterward, Grace ran toward me and hugged me tightly. She didn't call me Dad. She didn't need to. She simply whispered that she was glad I had stayed. And in that moment, I understood something I had forgotten after my divorce. Sometimes life doesn't give us the family we imagined. Sometimes it gives us people we never expected, at moments we never planned, and asks whether we are brave enough to love them without needing a title. If this story touched something inside your heart, please support the video with a like, share it with someone who believes family is built through love, and stay connected to the channel. You never know whose life might be changed by a simple story about showing up. Before you go, leave a comment telling me this. Have you ever had someone enter your life unexpectedly and become family without sharing your blood? Your answer might remind another person that they are not alone. Grace never needed me to become her father. She only needed one more person who would keep showing up. And sometimes, that is the most beautiful promise a human being can make.